The 481st edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. We're also brought to you by the Hockey Gambling Podcast's brand new YouTube page. The Hockey Guys are giving away a hoodie to celebrate their new YouTube channel. Register today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/HGP.
Howdy ho, degenerinos, and welcome to episode 481 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. I'm going to dedicate this one to LFA because they're giving us something to talk about as we are counting down the days till the UFC will be back in our lives. We're almost there. 2 more episodes after this, right, Gumby? And then we're there, right?
Yeah, 2 more after this one.
Right. I'm Jeff Fox, your host. The other voice you just heard, and the other, if you're watching on YouTube, the handsome gentleman to my right, it would be the one and only Gumby Vreeland. Hello, Gumby Vreeland.
Hey, you didn't give me anything to work off of other than...
Okay, well, maybe I'm not done.
Hey, next week's the UFC.
Yeah, hooray. Gumby, did you watch the Tyrone Woodley video?
I did.
I gave you something to work off of now.
There's only been 30 seconds in between these two recordings.
No.
Yeah, sorry, guys. We do them together. And Jeff was able to clarify for me off air what it was, so that I now feel better about A, not having to Google it, and B, emphatically saying I likely would not enjoy it.
Yes. All right. What else should I are you ready for your children to go back to school? Are you ready?
They've been back to school. We go back to school.
Oh, really?
America goes back to school the day after New Year's. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Everyone's back to school working everything?
I've been back to school for 2 days.
The
second.
No, those weird people that are teachers are back at work too.
They are. Yeah, they are too. Yeah. The second everybody goes back and life resumes. Why, do you get some sort of luxurious long break?
Yeah, the kids have 2 weeks off. Yeah.
What?
They were off the day they went a half day longer than your kids did. I think you told me. They got off on the 23rd, and they went to school the 23rd, and then they've been off, and they're not back till the next Monday. Yeah.
And colleges in the States now get some sort of long Parisian vacation. It's 2 months long or something like that.
Kids nowadays.
Damn kids.
Crazy. Anything else you want to chat about, or you want to jump right into LFA?
No, we got 5 fights to break down. We got some stuff to get to.
All right. A couple things maybe we should chat on. Did you see the Khamzat news? Not really news because he's always hurt or sick. You see, he posted.
He's not available.
Yes, he's not available. He's injured, and he's talking about he's having really bad health issues, and he looked horrible in the photo, really depleted and skating and stuff. And then, of course, the post gets deleted, and then he posts one where he looks fine and says, "Oh, I'll be back. Don't worry, guys." It's strange. It's almost like someone's telling him to get rid of stuff, like when he retired with COVID, and then a few minutes later he didn't retire. Anyhow, so apparently he's not doing well. Or maybe he's doing great.
Yeah, so in other words, all that changes stays the same. Because that's pretty much always been Khamzat.
Yeah, well, we've talked about him a few episodes ago. If you want to go back to our futures episode, but yeah, he's a hard guy to make predictions on because you don't know
if he'll ever
find availability. Number one ability is availability, and you really don't know whether it's health or visa or whatever the issues are. You don't always see him fighting. And then we had a main event announced: Brendan Allen, Marvin Vettori. Pretty good fight, right?
Yeah, that's a good one. It's the right step up for Brendan Allen too, which is nice.
Yep, it is. All right, we are talking about LFA, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies, I'm so funny. Gentlemen, LFA 174, Jones versus Gennrich. Some people may be making their significant others listen to us. You never know. This is going down Friday the 12th at 9 p.m. Eastern on UFC Fight Pass for the Mystic Lake Casino Hotel. Gumby and I have never been there. Maybe we'll have to go meet up there sometime, Gumby. It's
like a far drive for both of us.
Yeah, very. I'll race you. We'll start now. It's in Prior Lake, Minnesota. It's in a cage. It's got 11 fights. We skipped the amateurs. Sorry, we're not that I know there's some sickos who probably would have liked us to. I guess there's odds for amateurs, right? I've never bet an amateur fight, but is there odds for amateur fights?
Sometimes. I don't think all that often. There was for that PFL fight with the Muhammad Ali's grandkid.
Right. Yep.
So I think it's just got to be high profile enough for during a time where people need stuff to bet on. I saw him for Cage Titans way back when too. There was a Cage Titans AME fight that had odds.
Okay. Well, we don't need to worry about that. We skip those and then we hit you with the first 4 fights on the card yesterday. Today, we're going to do the top 5 fights, finishing off the main card. And we're starting with a men's bantamweight fight, 3 5-minute featherweight, 3 5-minute rounds. Dylan Smerillo, Tanner Trembley. Both these guys are 0-0. So I'll have to give you some amateur info on him. And then we'll pick Gumby's brain on how he search for this. Trembley, kill him quick is the nickname. All one word. Kill him quick. Do you approve of that?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
It's unique.
Hopefully this episode does not kill you quick. He's 0-0 as a pro, 4-0 as an amateur, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions. So he's finished all of his amateur opponents. He owes his rounds. Smerillo. I don't like saying that name. I think he should get a nickname as well. He's 0-0, 6-5 as an amateur, 2 knockouts, 4 submissions. So he has finished all of his opponents. And he's been knocked out once, submitted 3 times on the amateur scene. He's won 2 straight fights. He lost. How is that possible? If he's won 2 straight, how did he lose in his last fight via submission? Maybe he won his last fight via submission is what I meant, but it's amateur. So who really cares? 5 years younger than Trembley. Gumby, have you caught any tape on these guys? How did you?
Yeah, I was able to catch tape on both of them. It's out there. And like even if you were just like you're a person who handicaps through Tapology, which is kind of what I think some of these books do sometimes. Trembley is going to come in as the favorite because of the record, because of the run. Like he's just had a way more successful amateur career. So I bet you that one will probably be like negative 250, and if you don't get it right off the bat, it'll probably catapult up too. Because I'll say this: in addition to him being like the better fighter on paper, he's also much better in the cage too. Smerillo is he's one of those guys who he's got kind of some like funky stuff that he does that I think have given some people issues. Like he throws from weird angles, like he's almost trying to do like a Dominic Cruz-esque thing, but like doesn't have any of the actual ability to do so. No offense, he's an amateur. Like he shouldn't have the abilities to do so. He'd be far better. But he also throws like weird oblique kicks and, like punches from weird angles and, side kicks that you wouldn't see most amateurs throw. So I think because he does a lot of weird things like that, he's had some success in the amateur ranks because people don't see that kind of thing. And I just don't think it works against Tanner Trembley because Trembley is a fighter who clearly is being, I think Brock Larson is his coach. Do you remember the name Brock Larson?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
I'm pretty sure I heard a commentator mention Brock Larson teaching him things at some point in time. So he's at least worked with Brock Larson in the past.
I think you're right. I think I saw his name too. Nice. Yes, that is true.
Okay, yeah, so shout out to whatever announcer that was.
Shout out to Gumby for remembering that.
Yeah, that was pretty good on his part to give me that inception knowledge. But Trembley is just like he's one of those guys who's clearly coached up by a former pro who knows how to do the little things right. Because he just doesn't take stupid risks. His boxing doesn't look like, it doesn't look like much, but he's just doing all the little things right offensively and defensively. He's way more technical than his opponent. I would also say that in general, like he's faster than Smerillo. And he doesn't waste energy too. So his gas tank will be better here. And he hurt his last opponent pretty bad with a left hook. And I think that alone, like between Smerillo being kind of like off balance all the time and Trembley just like never putting himself in danger of like eating one of these, like, what is he going to throw, a question mark kick or something like that? Like the fact that he's always in the right position so he never gets hit by that is going to leave him in a good position to counter Smerillo when he gets off balance one of these times. I also think he could wrestle him. He probably won't, but I think he could wrestle him. But I think Trembley is going to have success just about everywhere.
2 episodes in a row, you've said weird oblique kicks. That's
weird oblique kicks. I mean, like
it's become your tick, I think.
I think it's because, like, on the amateur scene, if you see an oblique kick, it is a weird oblique kick.
Yep.
Every oblique kick is a weird oblique kick on the regional scene. There you go.
Yes, it's true. All right. What's not weird is underdog fantasy. You should be able to bet on higher or lower oblique kicks, weird oblique kicks. How many weird oblique kicks will be in this fight? That would be a good bet. Not a bet, a good play. Underdog fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long. NFL, NBA, NHL, college basketball, college football, MMA, they got it all. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in. Gummy, do you have a favorite oblique kick play for us, or are you going to go somewhere different?
Give me on Sunday. I like Mason Rudolph's higher than on his passing yards. A lot of people might shy away from taking somebody who's playing the Ravens, but it's only listed at 219.5, and I think the Steelers are pretty much going to have to throw the entire game in order to make sure that they maintain their playoff hope. So I think Mason Rudolph probably throws for 220 without any problem.
How is his oblique kicks, though? We need to know.
I would imagine bad, but I would ask Hunter Homistick because that guy would know.
All right, there you go. Watch along, make your picks, and maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. And when you sign up with the promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit of up to $100. Free money. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code SGPN. And speaking of free, the Hockey Gambling Podcast, our brethren over there, are giving away a free hoodie in celebration of launching their new YouTube channel. They're giving away an HGP hoodie, which I have one, and it's very nice. So if you want to be cool like me, go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/HGP to enter. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/HGP. H as in hockey, GP. All right, let's move on, Gumby, to here's the right tab. We are going to a Canadian. It's Canada time. We're going up to lightweight. 3 5-minute rounds. Canada time. Cody Hilhausen, that little nerdy friend of Bart's, versus Kelton Sneve, the Canadian.
It's a great
We're getting some names I don't enjoy saying, like Sneve, and what's the one we just said?
Smerillo.
Smerillo. Sneve is a conqueror, spelled incorrectly. Konqueror. That is not how we spell it in Canada. I guess they're playing on the Kelton part of his name. But yeah,
the K where C belongs in like business names. Oh, irks me to no end. Candy corner, and there's no C's in the whole damn thing.
There you go. And he's fighting out of Thunder Bay. He's way up there in Ontario, way up north. Is old Kelton. All right, let's tell you about him here first. Conqueror 1-0 with 1 submission. This is his LFA debut. 7 years younger than Hilhausen. Little blue-haired Hilhausen is the crippler. So he's like Hilhausen, Milhouse when they do the future ones, and Milhouse is all jacked. Have you?
I was gonna say it's like Milhouse when he plays. What's the video game? Bone something. Either. Yeah, but he puts the name,
I know.
Yeah, he puts the name Thrill House in, which makes it a lot better.
Yes, right. It is true. All right, we're gonna tell you about Hilhausen, the crippler. I would not say these to his face because he's the crippler. What a unique nickname. 3-2, 1 knockout, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. He owes us rounds, damn it. 0-1 in LFA, 3-1 over his last 4, including winning his last fight via submission. He used to fight out welterweight. All right. What do you know about Sneve? First of all, 1 fight. I'm guessing on the Canadian regional scene, probably. Have you seen anything on this guy?
Yeah, I went and watched him fight. So much so that I think he's going. No, but I watched. No, I didn't go to his fight, but I did see his last amateur fight.
He had a lot of amateur fights. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's available on his last amateur fight's available on YouTube, so you can go watch him and verify everything I'm about to tell you. I actually think he's going to come in here as a favorite. If you watch these two guys fight, dude, anything's because of the record. I will say he probably will only come in at like -200, but he probably should be -400.
There's value there.
Yeah, lots of value here. So I don't really necessarily love where he keeps his chin. Like, I think that's a new guy thing where sometimes like they just carry their chin a little bit too high, but he throws a lot of low kicks, a lot of really good low kicks. In addition to that, he's got some decent wrestling that I didn't hate. He wasn't super successful on it. I didn't like how much he backed up, but he does throw a whole bunch of really good low leg kicks. And that helps me trust him. Hilhausen, his arm punches are so wild. He's one of those guys who just he throws the way you would expect somebody who's never hit a heavy bag to throw. And I don't mean that particularly mean because he's landed some of them. He's got some good accuracy on him for throwing them the way that he does. But I just don't think it will catch somebody like Sneve, who, kind of like we were talking in the last fight with Tanner Trembley. He's just kind of a guy who does some of the technical things right. And I think that's enough to get him by here against Hilhausen. And I will also say Hilhausen looked really bad on his takedown defense in his last fight. He got slammed pretty easily. And I think Sneve, while I said his wrestling kind of held up pretty well in his last fight, I think that means with like a step down in competition here against Hilhausen, I actually think it's going to play up. So I like Sneve quite a bit here. I think he's probably only going to be a slight favorite. Probably should be a much bigger one. So yeah, Sneve, kind of a sleeper.
That's what we like to hear. All right, so we got Sneve, lock it in. Trembley, lock it in. All right, we are moving on up the card as we tend to do with these things. All right, let's go to big boys. Are these chunky guys, Gumby?
These are chunky guys, yes.
All right. 3 5-minute rounds at heavyweight. Stephen Asplund, Billy Ray Valdez. Do I have to tell you he's American? He's American. So is Asplund. Another good name, Gumby. Asplund is not a fun name to say either. Asplund is concrete, apparently. So that's probably good for fighting if you're made of concrete, both for offense and defense. He's 1-0 with 1 knockout. This is his LFA debut. 4 inches taller than Peterson. Peterson, he's the real deal. He's 6-1. Wait a minute, not Peterson. He's fighting Valdez, right? Right, yes. Valdez. Sorry. Valdez is 2-0, 1 knockout, 1 submission. I would say that's the real deal as well. 1-0 in LFA, 1-0 as a pro boxer. Now Gumby takes over with the real info you want to hear.
So I'm going to start with the real info that you want to hear, and that's
Have you seen these gentlemen?
I have. Bart Simpson and Milhouse wanted to get Bone Storm. That was the name of the game.
Okay, yeah. Yep, I do remember now.
I've seen both of these guys fight. The big difference for me is just going to be the size difference. Asplund being a much taller fighter than Valdez here. And Valdez does look like he's gotten himself into some better shape, because if you go watch some of the film of him when he was boxing, he looked like he couldn't make 265, if I'm being completely honest. He looks a lot better now. Yeah, he looks a lot better now, having dropped a little weight. But he's a short guy, and he does have big power. If you watch one of his last fights, he gets absolutely wrecked with kicks, one right after another, and then finally his opponent kicks him right in the balls. And maybe it's the greatest thing that ever happened to him, because he gets like 3 minutes to like settle himself.
Yeah.
And then after he takes 3 minutes to settle himself, he eats 2 more kicks and then lands a right hand and ends the fight. So he didn't look good in that fight. Asplund, on the other hand, he's a chunky guy and he kind of muscles his takedowns, but he's got like some pretty good cardio for a guy who's 265. He throws a jab, which is worth something. And the bigger part of it is like he's got nice body kicks. And I think between the range and the fact that he throws body kicks and the fact that he has some jabs, I think that height is just going to be too much for Valdez. I don't think he'll get close enough to Asplund to be able to take him out. I think because it's a heavyweight fight, you'll see the books a little bit careful on the odds. Maybe Asplund, slight favorite, -175, let's say plus 150 on the return for Valdez. But I do think Asplund is the right move here.
All right, Asplund. What was the number you said for us?
I said, let's say -175.
All right. We'll say no. It doesn't. Well, I guess it does matter actually what you say. People have said they've made money.
People care. People
care about us, Gumby. They listen to us. No matter what we talk about, they will listen to us. We try to put that to the test during this break in UFC action. So hopefully we're not killing you quick, as I said earlier. All right, let's go to the co-main event. Excuse me. This is a 3 5-minute round fight at 140 pounds, a made-up weight class. Quang Lee versus Cody Peterson. Both these guys are bantamweights, but they're fighting up at 140. Quang Lee from China against the American Cody Peterson. So we have a Chinese fighter, Vietnam versus versus USA. And let's tell you about the American first. Peterson, he is the real deal. I jumped the gun on him earlier. I had him fighting up at heavyweight, so that would have been quite a weight gain for him. The real deal is 6-1, 1 knockout, 4 submissions. He's been knocked out once. He owes us rounds. Damn it. This is his LFA debut. 4 straight wins, 3 straight via submission. Has not fought since June of 2019, though. 2013 was his pro MMA debut. 0-3 as a pro boxer. 3 inch height, 3 inches of reach over Lee. Lee is 6-0 with 3 submissions, 5-0 in LFA, 2 years younger than Peterson. That's all I got.
So Quang Lee is kind of a sleeper here because I think, so first of all, I think he'll be a favorite. I don't know how big, let's say, because, the record's pretty nice on Peterson, but the layoff kind of maybe shies people away. Let's say -200 for Quang Lee. But Quang Lee comes from the Minnesota fight team there, the one, Greg Nelson. Greg Nelson is the lead trainer there, former Brock Lesnar head coach. Quang Lee was actually in the corner for John Castaneda's last UFC fight. So he's like he's a training partner of John Castaneda. And I will say he doesn't fight like John Castaneda, because what's John Castaneda? Big, looping bombs and some mean takedowns. And I would say Quang Lee is almost the exact opposite of him. He's like a nice foil for him. He's a guy who's a little bit hesitant on the feet. He sort of like picks away at you until you get frustrated and then tries to get you close enough to grapple. And while his wrestling maybe isn't like the best wrestling I've ever seen, his counters off of the wrestling, when either his wrestling fails or somebody else shoots on him, are incredible. I really love the way he like takes somebody's back when they try to take him down. Like he'll like pin an arm, he'll go to like a crucifix position, and then he'll be on your back. Like he does a lot of things that make me like the way he grapples, regardless of whether or not the wrestling portion of it's all that good. And I got to imagine like the wrestling portion is just going to keep getting better working with Nelson and Castaneda and those guys. So like, I think even though like maybe I wasn't all that impressed with him sometimes, I think there's reason to be hopeful for him in the future. And then of course, if fighting a guy who's coming off of a layoff like Cody Peterson is, this dude hasn't fought since the pandemic started, right? Like that's automatically a tick in the wrong direction. And kind of what I've seen from him fighting from, now 4 years ago, right? Because you haven't seen this guy fight in 4 years. It's just kind of like rote striking. He's kind of one of those guys who throws combinations that you expect, whether or not it's the right situation for it or not. He's long, but doesn't necessarily use all that length really well. I couldn't really get good film on him in grappling exchanges, which makes me think maybe he's not all that well tested. And especially 4 years out of the cage, I think Quang Lee takes care of that. So I'm going to go with a 4th favorite in a row here. I'll take Quang Lee, probably, like I said, like -200.
All right. Is he a potential UFC prospect, or is it too early?
I think this is the win that puts him on Contender Series for sure. Like if he goes out there and like, and I think they give him a right kind of opposition. It's a guy with a 6-1 record, so that's what the UFC wants to see. But it's also a guy he can maybe like dazzle on. Like if this guy shoots a takedown and he jumps to the back and chokes him out real fast, that's kind of what the UFC wants to see in the fight, like before he would get a Contender Series fight.
Fantastic. You know what I like to see? I like to see all the great deals at Game Time. And I love my transitions. I am so smooth at this. Almost 500 episodes in. Game Time is the spot to go for last minute ticket deals. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. You can get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive to the event. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CFBX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And Hall of Fame Bets. We're brought to you by Win Bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bets revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets BetterHelp.com and use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame bets. All right. Are we to the main event? We are to the main event. Jones versus Gennrich. This is for the LFA Lightweight Championship. JaCobi Jones, 6-2 versus Kegan Gennrich, 7-2, 5-minute rounds for, like I said, for the Lightweight Championship. Gennrich, machine gun, 7-2, 1 knockout, 3 submissions. He's been submitted once, 4-1 in LFA. He's won 5 straight fights. The last one via submission. Is not lost since August of 2020. 5 inches taller than Jones, 3 inches of reach. So he's going to have quite a decent size advantage on him. On the champ, Big Toe, JaCobi Jones. Once again, I remember talking about him. He's 6-2, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been submitted once. He's 6-1 in LFA and is the champion. 0-1 on the Contender Series. He's won 3 of his last 5. Did lose his last fight. That was the Contender Series fight. 3 years younger than Gennrich. Tell us, we don't know about Big Toe, right? The nickname, or do we?
We don't know about Big Toe. You did press me for it pretty heavily when he was on Contender Series, but we didn't get the answer. I'm gonna say
bottom of it yet. Okay,
I haven't gotten to the bottom of it, but I will say he's gonna be an underdog in this fight.
Really?
I think so. I'd be pretty surprised if he wasn't. Now, that being said, I'm taking him here. This is the lone underdog I've liked in these last 5 fights is, if my predictions are correct. I think he's going to be an underdog because the records are just about the same. And I'll be honest, I think he lost stock in being on Contender Series. Sometimes you're like, oh, he was on Contender Series. He's a recognizable name, and that'll jack him up. He looked really bad in Contender Series. Let's be fair. He fought Daniel James Allen? I want to say it was like the only guy on this year's Contender Series who didn't get a contract after winning.
Yeah, I don't even remember the guy.
Yeah, it was like kind of a lackluster performance. He was also 34 and only 4-0, and it was like one of those ones where like Dana White was like, I'm not really looking for 34-year-old 4-0 guys. And it's like, well, then why is he on this show?
Exactly. That's what I always argued. Yep.
Yeah. And anyway, he beat JaCobi Jones, and Jones just didn't look good. I kind of think it was like a stage fright thing for JaCobi Jones because we've seen him be a better boxer. And if I'm being candid, I haven't really been impressed with Gennrich's boxing. He seems like tentative. He does this like weird lean forward thing that I don't really love, especially out of a tall guy. Like, why are you leaning forward? Why would you not use some of that height? I think Jones can tag him with either a punch or a kick when he's leaning forward like that. I also see Gennrich going to his grappling a lot, and I know that worked on Jones a little bit with Daniel James Allen, or at least Allen's defensive wrestling also worked in there, but I don't know that it's going to here against JaCobi Jones. I think we see a more LFA looking version of him because he didn't look the same on Contender Series. I think his boxing's a little faster. I think he's up against an opponent who's a little more hittable. And I think Gennrich is just probably going to put his head in the wrong place one time. And as you've seen sort of in the past with JaCobi Jones, that can sort of be a problem because the guy hits really hard. The 2 wins, obviously, by knockout that he has are his last 2 wins. But he's also, when he stopped Jan-Paul Lebozani, I was really impressed. I thought his punches looked good there. And like he's dropped other people. So I think he's got all the potential here. I think, people probably jumping off the Big Toe train. I don't think it's time yet to jump off the Big Toe train. So if that's my one underdog, I'll ride with JaCobi Jones.
The Big Toe train. All right. What do you think we're going to get him at? I always miss that for some reason.
I think probably, I don't know if I even said, I said maybe plus 150.
All right. Works for me. All right. Let's recap and we'll get out of we'll stop beating your ears and your eyes. He's got Jones. He's got Lee. He's got Asplund. He's got Sneve, and he's got Trembley on the episode with a bunch of weird names. All right. We are going to, like I said, we're going to leave you be now. But if you want more of us, of course you do. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord is the place to go. You can also contact us on Twitter. Gumby runs our official account, which is SGPN MMA. He's at Gumby Vreeland. I'm at Jeff Fox Writer there. And on Instagram, my Substack is moneymma.substack.com. Check it out. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. You will like what you hear from Gumby's other podcasts, the Top Turtle MMA podcast, because there's no me on it. And there's Jim Miller on this past episode. So that's a good swap. Me for Jim Miller, that's a good swap. So listen to that. Weston Wilson, too, is a good interview. this week, and sportsgamblingpodcast.com and sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's it for my plugs. Gumby, get us out of here.
I'm Daniel Gobi Freeland. He's Big Toe Jeff Fox, and we will see you on Sunday.